My mother let me take the blame for her crime. And I went to jail. You never really know someone until you're handcuffed because of them. I was 19 when the cops came banging on our front door at 6:42 a.m. sharp. I remember the time because I'd barely slept. Mom had been pacing all night, muttering to herself, jumping at every little sound. I thought maybe she was going through another one of her breakdowns. She had plenty of those ever since Dad left us. But this time it was different. Something was off. She wouldn't meet my eyes. When the police started yelling outside, I ran down the stairs, heart racing, thinking maybe something had happened to my little sister at school or God forbid to Mom. But it was me they were calling for. Jason Taylor? That's me. You're under arrest for the break-in and assault that occurred on the night of March 8th at Sunview Market. What? I looked at Mom. She was standing frozen behind the kitchen counter, holding a dish towel, her face pale, too pale. I didn't understand. I hadn't even been out that night. I'd been home, watching Netflix. Mom knew that. She was right there. She could have spoken up. But she didn't. She just stood there and let them cuff me. My little sister came out rubbing her eyes, asking what was happening. I was still yelling, trying to explain. But everything went fast. Too fast. Slammed into the back of a police cruiser, taken to the station, processed, and thrown into a cold holding cell. The whole time I kept thinking it's a mistake. Mom will fix this. She'll come to the station. She'll explain. She didn't. That night, I sat in a jail cell for something I didn't do, wondering why my own mother hadn't said a word in my defense. It wasn't until the second day when my public defender came with photos and evidence that I realized something even more terrifying. The security footage showed someone in a hoodie, same build as mine, same sneakers. The same ones Mom had washed and put back in my closet the day after the incident. She'd planned it. She'd used me. And that was just the beginning of the nightmare. The scariest place isn't prison. It's the courtroom when your own mother is watching you burn. I sat there in that orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed in front of me, while the prosecutor painted me as some out-of-control teen who lost his temper and beat a store clerk half to death for a few packs of cigarettes and cash. They said I was angry, desperate, and violent. I wasn't. But it didn't matter. The jury didn't know me. And worst of all, my mother didn't defend me. She sat at the back of the courtroom, arms folded, wearing black like she was at a funeral. She barely looked at me. She never spoke to my lawyer. Never took the stand. Never told the truth. The store clerk? He had a fractured jaw and a concussion. He said the guy who attacked him wore gloves but had a scar on his left wrist. I had that scar. Mom knew I always wore that wristband to hide it. The security footage? Blurry, yes, but the attacker wore the same hoodie and shoes I had. Clothes Mom had borrowed weeks earlier when she said she was running errands at night to save on gas. My alibi? I was home. With her. Watching Breaking Bad reruns. But when the defense called her up to testify, she said, I don't remember what he was doing that night. I went to bed early. He often stays out late. I swear I forgot how to breathe for a second. I just stared at her like she was a stranger. Not the woman who raised me. Not the woman who used to call me her baby boy. That one sentence, those 14 words, shattered my world more than the sentence that came later. Jason Taylor is hereby sentenced to 5 years in state prison for aggravated assault and burglary. I remember screaming. Not out loud. Inside. My soul screamed. I wanted to leap off that chair, grab her, shake her, and ask why. But I didn't. Instead, I was led away in chains. While my mother looked down at the floor. The first thing they take from you in prison isn't your freedom. It's your identity. I wasn't Jason anymore. I was 61193, a number stitched into every shirt I wore, echoing through every corridor I walked. The cell was barely big enough to breathe in. Concrete bed, metal toilet, one shelf. My bunkmate was a quiet guy named Donnie who'd been in and out of prison most of his life. First thing he said to me was, "You got that somebody betrayed me look. Don't let it fester. It'll kill you faster than any shiv." I didn't answer. I didn't speak much in those first few weeks. But I couldn't stop thinking. Not about the guards. Not about the food. Not even about the nightmares that woke me up screaming. I only thought about her. My mother. How she lied. Why she lied. And what else she was hiding. Because here's the thing, they never found the money that was stolen from the store. And guess who paid our rent the following month while I was already locked up? That's right. She did. In cash. I found out through my little sister during her first visit. She was just 13, but she was sharp. She leaned over the plastic divider and whispered, "Mom's been acting weird. She won't let me in her room. And she has a new phone now, even bought a necklace with a gold cross. Where did she get money for that?" My blood ran cold. All the signs were there. She'd planned everything right down to using me as her alibi shield. I was disposable. The guards said I'd get used to the anger. But they didn't know mine was different. Mine wasn't just about injustice. Mine was about betrayal. By the one person who was supposed to protect me from the world. Instead, she fed me to it. Sometimes the truth doesn't set you free. It just burns everything to the ground. I'd been in prison for 9 months when I got the letter. It was from Mrs. Alvarez, our old neighbor, the woman who used to babysit my sister when Mom worked night shifts at the diner. I hadn't thought about her in ages. But somehow, she'd heard about my conviction. The letter came folded neatly, no return address. Jason, I don't know what really happened, but I saw your mother the night of the robbery. She wasn't at home like she said. I saw her drive off in your hoodie and sneakers around 10:30 p.m. I remember because I was outside taking my dog out, and I joked that she looked like a teenage boy. I didn't think anything of it until I watched the news. I read that letter so many times the paper nearly tore in my hands. I had proof. Not hard evidence, but a start. Someone outside the family had seen her that night. And the more I thought about it, the more cracks I noticed. Mom had changed her phone number, sold furniture, upgraded her wardrobe. She even started seeing some guy named Reggie, according to my sister. I started putting the pieces together quietly. I reached out to a prison legal aid volunteer named Marcus. He believed in wrongful convictions and worked cases in his spare time. When I told him my story, he didn't flinch. If your mom set you up, he said, I'll help you prove it. But this will destroy you, Jason. Are you ready for that? Was I? Did it even matter anymore? I'd already lost everything: my freedom, my trust, my faith in family. All I had left was the truth, and I was ready to burn for it. Every lie my mother told was just a band-aid hiding a gaping wound, and I was the one bleeding out. Marcus didn't waste time. He started contacting old neighbors, coworkers, even a former landlord. What we found out made my skin crawl. Mom was in deep. Before the robbery, she owed thousands in credit card debt. She'd been getting payday loans under fake names. And worst of all, she'd been visiting someone regularly at a rundown motel on the edge of town. That someone? A small-time dealer named Reggie who was wanted for questioning in 2 previous robbery cases. So it wasn't just about money anymore. It was about survival, about fear, and maybe about love. Twisted, toxic love. One woman who worked at the diner with her told Marcus, your mom came in crying 2 weeks before the robbery. Said if she didn't come up with fast cash, they'd hurt her kids. I thought she was exaggerating. Now I'm not so sure. So what did she do? She panicked. She planned. And she sacrificed me. The hoodie, the shoes, the timing, the alibi. She used every little detail of my life to pull off the crime. Then walked away clean while I sat behind bars for her sins. But it gets worse. Reggie was arrested 2 months ago for another assault. While searching his place, police found a stash of items, one of which was a bracelet that belonged to the clerk who got beaten at the store I supposedly robbed. You know what that means? He was there too. Maybe even the one who did the beating. And my mom? She was never even questioned. She'd framed her own son while her boyfriend carried out the dirty work. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was broken. But I wasn't staying broken. Because for the first time since that cold morning they dragged me out of my house. I had hope. And now I wanted justice. Even if I had to take it with my own hands. Forgiveness is for saints. I was raised by a devil. And now I wanted blood. Marcus sat across from me during visitation, his hands shaking with the files he held. Jason, if we go forward with this, it'll tear your family apart. Your sister. My sister's already broken, I cut in. And I'm already in pieces. So what exactly do I have left to lose? He nodded. Then he slid over the folder. Inside were sworn statements, timestamps, financial records, and surveillance stills showing my mother meeting Reggie 2 days before the robbery, 2 days after, and even while I was already in jail. She didn't just let me take the fall. She watched me rot. And then she moved on like I was just some character she wrote off her story. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the cracked ceiling of my cell and thought about every birthday she'd celebrated without me. Every holiday meal she cooked for my sister while I ate powdered mashed potatoes behind bars. Every lie she kept alive. But I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to make her pay. I contacted a journalist, a local reporter known for covering wrongful convictions. I gave her everything. Every document. Every piece of my story. Every tear-filled sentence from that letter Mrs. Alvarez wrote me. I even told her the truth about how I felt. I used to dream of hugging my mom when I got out. Now I dream of never seeing her again. The story hit the internet like wildfire. Wrongfully convicted teen, did his own mother frame him? Thousands shared it. The prison buzzed. Inmates patted my back. Guards looked at me differently. But the most shocking part? My mother finally called me. Her voice shook. "Jason, what are you doing?" I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "Now you know how it feels to be afraid." Then I hung up. The story went viral. Petitions. Protests. Interviews. Even an old retired detective who worked the original robbery came forward to say the case felt rushed and off from the beginning. My sister visited me again. Her face was pale, eyes wide. "Jason, they searched Mom's room. They found cash hidden in the air vent. Thousands." I felt a sick twist in my stomach. This was it. The avalanche had started. But in prison, news like that paints a bullseye on your back. Inmates talk. Guards whisper. Some praised me. Others, especially ones with connections outside, weren't so impressed. Turns out Reggie had friends. I got jumped. 2 guys cornered me in the laundry room. One held a pillowcase full of soap bars, the other a blade made from a toothbrush. They didn't talk. They just went for it. Fists. Blood. Pain. Screaming. My ribs cracked. My vision blurred. But before I blacked out, I heard one of them say, "You should have kept your mouth shut. You don't mess with family." Even inside, people have twisted loyalty. I woke up in the infirmary, bruised and barely breathing. Marcus visited me there, his face grim. "Your mom's been arrested." It didn't feel real. They linked her to 2 other robberies. She gave a partial confession but claimed Reggie forced her. She still won't admit she framed you. Of course she wouldn't. She'd rather rot than say she chose him over me. The DA was reopening my case. There was talk of early release. But at what cost? I was scarred mentally, physically. My name was all over the news. My future, uncertain. But I swore one thing that day, as I stared out the tiny window of the prison infirmary. I'd get out. And when I did, I'd make sure no one ever forgot what she did. Because some betrayals don't fade. They tattoo themselves onto your soul. The day I walked out of prison, the air smelled different. Fresher. But it didn't feel like freedom. It felt like a shackled release, a hollow, uncertain breath after years of suffocating in a box. The lawyer called me first thing. My case was overturned. My conviction was officially vacated. The truth had finally triumphed over the lies. The charges were gone. But there was one thing I hadn't prepared for. My mother was waiting. She had nowhere else to go, no one else to turn to. Her face was as empty as the life she'd stolen from me. "Jason." She said my name like it was a prayer. Like she thought maybe I'd embrace her like nothing ever happened. But I didn't. Couldn't. My heart wasn't her home anymore. "I'm done," I said. The words felt like chains being broken. "I'm done carrying your weight. You ruined me." Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't wait to see them. I turned my back and walked away. That was the hardest part. I had to leave her behind, not because I hated her, but because I hated what she had made me become. I had been willing to forgive her. First, I thought if I gave her a chance, maybe things would be different. But no. She was always going to be that same selfish woman who never once cared about the truth. Who never once thought about how much I'd sacrifice for her lies. The truth didn't heal me. It didn't fix the brokenness. What it did was give me a chance to build something new, a life without her lies. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but at least I could breathe again. At least I could try to rebuild the trust I'd lost with myself. My life didn't magically turn around after that. I moved to a new city, got a new job. I still struggle with the scars, physical and emotional. The weight of the past, my past, will always be with me, but it no longer defines me. As for my mom, the world never forgot her betrayal. She went to trial, convicted of conspiracy, theft, and obstruction of justice. The last I heard, she was sentenced to 7 years. I hear my sister's doing better now, though. She's in therapy. She's trying to heal. Maybe one day we'll rebuild our relationship, but that's a long way off. I've learned one thing through all of this. The truth is heavy, but it's also the only thing you can rely on in a world full of lies. The end.
Jason's journey from betrayal to freedom has come full circle. But the journey of healing? That will take a lifetime. The question is, will he ever find peace?